A woman climbed out of a Berlin canal, and for the next 80 years, the world argued over who she really was. No documents, no past she could prove, no name anyone could confirm, only scars, and a story almost too impossible to believe. She claimed to be Anastasia Romanova, the youngest daughter of Russia's last Tsar, the only member of the Romanov family who survived the execution in Yekaterinburg. And suddenly, the question changed. It was no longer, who is she? It became something far more unsettling. Why did so many people want her to be real? To understand that, you have to go back to the beginning. Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanova was born in 1901, the fourth daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, known in the family as the mischievous one, the one who hid under tables during official receptions, the one who tied her lady-in-waiting's apron strings to a chair just to watch her fall, the one who laughed too loud for a princess. She was 17 years old in the summer of 1918, old enough to understand that something had gone terribly wrong, old enough to see fear on her mother's face, young enough to still believe it might somehow end differently. It didn't. On the night of July 16, 1918, the entire family was taken to a basement in Yekaterinburg. They were told to wait. Then the guards came back, and they did not come back alone. The Tsar, the Tsarina, their 5 children, the family doctor, 3 servants executed. At least, that's what history tells us. But there was one problem: silence. No public announcement, no bodies shown, no certainty, no closure. And into that silence, something else appeared: possibility. And possibility can be dangerous, because once certainty disappears, imagination takes over. People began asking, what if someone escaped? And if someone did, why not Anastasia, the youngest, the most innocent, the one people wanted most to believe had survived? Over the following decades, more than 30 women would claim to be Anastasia. 30, from different countries, speaking different languages, with different stories, all claiming the same identity, but only one came close to being believed. Then came the woman, Anna Anderson. She appeared in Berlin in 1920, pulled from a canal after a suicide attempt. No papers, no memory she would share, no name she would give. She lay in a psychiatric ward for 2 years before anyone noticed something unusual. She knew things she should not have known: the layout of the imperial palaces, the nicknames used only within the family, private details about Romanov relatives who had never spoken to the press. She recognized faces. She remembered conversations. She carried herself like someone who had once been taught never to slouch. And suddenly, doubt returned. Not because she had been confirmed, but because people desperately wanted her to be real. The world split in two: German courts, scientists, former members of the Imperial Court, Russian exiles in Paris, London, New York. Everyone chose a side. Some Romanov relatives embraced her. Others called her a fraud from the first moment. The legal battles lasted 40 years. 40 years of hearings, appeals, testimonies, and no final answer. Because this was never just a legal question. It was emotional survival. The Romanovs had already stopped being a family. They had become something larger, a symbol of a lost empire, a vanished world, a Russia that no longer existed. And symbols do something strange. They demand continuation. If Anastasia survived, then something survived. If she lived, then perhaps the ending wasn't final. If one innocent girl escaped that basement, then history was not entirely merciless, and that idea became more powerful than evidence. Hope is rarely logical, but it is often necessary. For decades, Anna Anderson lived inside that uncertainty, not because she had been proven right, but because she filled a space the world refused to leave empty. She died in 1984, still claiming to be Anastasia, still unconfirmed, still believed by some, still doubted by others. Then science entered the story. In 1994, DNA testing finally answered the question. She was not Anastasia Romanova. She was almost certainly Franziska Szankowska, a Polish factory worker whose own life had disappeared into history. A different woman, a different past, a different truth. Then, in 2007, the final Romanov remains were identified. All 5 children, every member of the family, Accounted for, no survivor, no escape, no miracle. Anastasia died in that basement in 1918, together with her family, exactly as history had always claimed. But that isn't the part people remember. Because this story was never really about Anastasia. It was about us. Why do we believe what we believe when reality hurts too much? Why does hope survive longer than evidence? Why do some stories refuse to die, even after they're proven false? The world didn't simply investigate Anastasia. It created her because it needed her. 30 women across 80 years all became the same person, not because any of them was Anastasia, but because the world kept opening that door, kept asking the question, kept leaving just enough space for hope to walk through. And when that need finally disappeared, only the truth remained, cold, final, unforgiving. Anastasia was gone. She had been gone since 1918, but the need that created her never disappeared, because sometimes hope survives longer than truth, and a story survives longer than the person it's about.